How the Titanic was built. The incredible construction of the world's greatest ship. Before it became the world's most famous ship, Titanic was something entirely different. It was humanity's greatest engineering dream, a project so ambitious that thousands of workers dedicated years of their lives to building what many believed would be the future of ocean travel. But before the tragedy, before the iceberg, there was one incredible construction story that changed shipbuilding forever. This is how the Titanic was built. At the beginning of the 20th century, crossing the Atlantic Ocean was one of the biggest challenges in the world. Millions of people dreamed of reaching America in search of a better life. The only way to get there was aboard enormous ocean liners. As competition between shipping companies intensified, everyone wanted to build ships that were larger, faster, and more luxurious than ever before. One company refused to be left behind. The White Star Line decided to build not just one giant ship, but three: Olympic, Titanic, and Britannic. Their goal wasn't simply speed, it was to create the most comfortable and luxurious ships the world had ever seen. To make this dream possible, construction began in Belfast, Northern Ireland, at the famous Harland Wolff Shipyard. But there was one major problem. The shipyard itself wasn't big enough. Before building the Titanic, engineers first had to rebuild the entire shipyard. Massive new slipways were constructed. A gigantic steel gantry towered over the yard. Huge electric cranes capable of lifting several tons were installed. It was one of the largest industrial projects Europe had ever seen. Only after all of that could construction finally begin. On March 31st, 1909, the first section of Titanic's keel was laid. The keel is often called the backbone of a ship. Everything would be built around it. If it wasn't perfectly straight, the entire ship could become unstable. Thousands of skilled workers carefully assembled enormous steel beams, while engineers constantly measured every inch for accuracy. Every mistake could become a disaster. Next came the ship's massive steel skeleton. More than 300 giant steel frames were attached one after another, slowly giving Titanic its famous shape. Standing over 20 meters tall, these steel ribs formed the structure that would support the entire vessel. Watching Titanic grow day by day was unlike anything the workers had ever experienced. Many later described it as watching a city being built upside down. Once the frame was complete, workers covered it with thousands of enormous steel plates. Each plate weighed several tons. Together they formed Titanic's massive hull. To hold everything together, workers used nearly 3 million rivets. Some were installed using new hydraulic machines, while others had to be hammered into place completely by hand. Teams of 5 workers repeated this exhausting process all day long. Each rivet had only seconds to be installed before cooling down. It was physically demanding, dangerous, and required incredible precision. Safety was another major priority. Engineers designed a revolutionary double-bottom hull that provided extra protection if the ship struck underwater obstacles. Inside the vessel, 15 watertight bulkheads divided the ship into 16 separate compartments. If one section flooded, powerful watertight doors could automatically seal it off. For its time, this was considered one of the greatest safety innovations ever developed for any passenger ship. Many believe these features made Titanic almost impossible to sink. As construction continued, attention turned toward the ship's enormous machinery. Titanic's engines were among the largest ever built. Massive boilers were carefully lowered into the ship using the famous Titan crane. Some individual components weighed more than 20 tons. Every piece had to be positioned with incredible accuracy. There was almost no room for error. Even a small mistake could delay construction for weeks. While engineers worked below deck, thousands of craftsmen transformed the inside into a floating luxury hotel. Electric lighting, elegant staircases, beautiful wood paneling, luxury dining rooms, swimming pools, reading rooms, Turkish baths, and some of the finest first-class suites ever placed aboard a ship. Even third-class passengers enjoyed better accommodations than many ships offered to first-class travelers. Titanic truly represented the peak of luxury in 1912. One of the ship's most recognizable features soon followed: its 4 gigantic funnels. Interestingly, only 3 were actually needed for the engines. The 4th funnel mainly served as ventilation, but it also made Titanic appear larger, stronger, and more impressive than its competitors. Sometimes engineering was about appearance just as much as performance. After nearly 3 years of construction, the biggest day finally arrived. May 31st, 1911. Launch day. More than 100,000 spectators gathered along Belfast's waterfront. Newspapers from around the world covered the event. When the final supports were removed, gravity slowly pulled the 24,000-ton hull toward the water. For nearly 1 minute, the largest moving object ever built by humans slid gracefully into the River Lagan. The launch was flawless. Cheers erupted across Belfast. Years of hard work had finally paid off, but the ship was far from finished. For months afterward, workers continued installing engines, interiors, electrical systems, furniture, and countless finishing touches. By April 1912, Titanic was finally complete, stretching nearly 269 meters long, standing over 53 meters tall, and weighing more than 46,000 tons. She was officially the largest passenger ship ever built, a true masterpiece of engineering. Although history would remember Titanic for its tragic maiden voyage, its construction remains one of the greatest industrial achievements of the 20th century. Thousands of engineers, craftsmen, designers, and laborers pushed the limits of technology to create something the world had never seen before. More than a century later, the story of how Titanic was built continues to inspire engineers and history lovers around the world. Because long before it became history's most famous ship, Titanic was humanity's greatest engineering dream.